I do love keyboard tracks. It's one of those things where I like what you're doing with Sunday Keys, David, but I also don't because I
tell if you're joking,
do love
Matt.
tracks. I'm a track guy. I mean, what can I say? I'm here with David from Sunday Sounds. Actually, I want to set the mood here. I'm going to turn on a pad from the Tonic Pad player. Lord, I pray that you would give worship leaders wisdom as they determine whether they should use keyboard tracks or real pianos.
That's a nice sounding pad.
It's a nice pad.
I actually prepared my own pad. What key are you in?
I'm in the key of C.
I'm in A flat minor.
Oh.
And my pad is significantly louder.
Well, what if I turn mine up? How do I get more
You're just
volume?
not allowed. No.
All right, no. That hurts my ears.
Okay.
But we want to talk about the tensions that happen between, someone running tracks that have a lot of keyboard sounds in them. A lot of times multi-tracks have like 5 or 6 different keyboard sounds in them.
Yeah.
And then you've got a real piano player who's playing different parts. And we want
Right.
to talk about the tensions that exist in that.
Yeah, I mean, this conversation is going to be pretty off the cuff and unfiltered. This is just stuff that people write into both of us about. So from the keys player's perspective, I would say as I was starting Sunday Sounds 10-ish years ago, there was this realization that modern worship music was asking a lot of the keys player that had maybe not been asked before. Keys parts were getting more complicated, more involved, lots of synth parts and things. And so I feel like keys players were trying to figure out how to catch up.
Yeah.
Maybe they had old hardware, and so that's how we ended up trying to find a way to accomplish this with software. But I think it took a lot of churches a while to figure out all of those things. And in the meantime, I think some churches ended up relying on tracks to fill those gaps.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of keys players end up taking this too far. Once they figure out how they can fill all of that space, there's maybe this sort of I don't want to use any tracks. I just want to cover all of these keys parts live. Yeah. And sometimes you can do that, but other times it feels maybe a little ill-advised to be that focused on exact replication. The stakes of needing to nail all of those keys parts can sort of pull you out of playing an instrument or worship and be this replication mindset, which is a lot to ask of the average volunteer.
Yeah, right. And a lot of worship leaders, I feel end up having keyboard tracks clashing with a live keyboard player for a couple of reasons. Mm-hmm. One is either just laziness, they roll in and they just don't actually take the time to customize the mix based on and actually talk to the keyboard player and be hey, what are you playing today? Are you going to do any synth lead lines? Are you going to be doing piano? And then taking the time to mix their tracks. And then I think two, and this sadly might be more often what the case, is that worship leaders may not trust that their keyboard player can actually play those parts.
Right.
And maybe they can't, because some of them are pretty intricate. But I think actually we're probably selling them short. A lot of keyboard players could do it if we gave them instruction.
Right. Well, I think it's that analogy, if you don't have a member, if you don't have a drummer and then you take the drums off stage and there's just never any drums on the stage, no one from your congregation is going to come up and say, hey, I could play drums.
Right.
So if you're constantly filling that space that the keyboard player could play from the tracks, and you're not communicating the purpose behind that, then I think the subliminal message that your keys player is going to receive is, hey, we don't want you to play those synth leads, just block chords or whatever. I do think that the communication piece kind of goes both ways, though. If you're a keys player watching this video, I think you should try and open a line of communication with your worship leader or music director, a bit proactively and say, hey, is it okay if I listen to these parts?
Yeah.
And you can get the set list in Prime in advance and hear the details and then tell them, I'd like to try and play piano, keys 1 and keys 2.
Yeah.
Would it be okay if you mute those and then hear what I bring to the table?
Yeah.
So just take that little proactive step and explain I'd like to see if this works. Have that openness to be told it's not working. We want to do it with the tracks. Maybe you build up towards that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But go ahead.
Well, no, and I think also in the rehearsal, maybe after the song, just take time as the worship leader and ask the keyboard player, hey, what are you playing here? You can go in here and mute whatever instruments they are playing.
And I think you can involve your front of house engineer in this a little bit also. If you can explain to them, hey, we're trying to just make sure the balance between what's in the track and what's coming out live makes sense. As a worship leader, sometimes you have bigger fish to fry, like are we staying on beat? Are we playing this with dynamics? But sometimes maybe you could just enlist one other person on your team or in the booth to just be that second set of ears or that third set of ears. Because there's just so much that has to happen during that short, condensed period of time. And I think that lack of time often is what really ends up making this like a compromise.
What would you say to the worship leader or sound tech person who has that temptation just to keep the synth lead line turned up because it's an important synth lead line and it can't be messed up?
Right.
And so they're like, let's maybe just use the track because it'll be perfect. And George over here might mess it up.
I think you have to be willing to invest a little bit of time to make sure that the keys player has the tools that they need.
Yeah.
So if you're just using like a hardware keyboard or something and you don't know how to use it at all as the worship leader, you can't really say to the volunteer, hey, I'd like you to try covering this lead line without being able to explain it's not just the notes you play, it's the sound you use.
Right.
Here's maybe how we can get closer towards that.
And that's why the Sunday Keys app is awesome. Because the other thing I was going to say is, I think another reason why people use the track synth lead line is because it sounds exactly like the recording.
Right.
It sounds like what the worship leader wants it to sound like. And often before the Sunday Keys app came around, you'd ask like your keyboard player, hey, learn this synth lead line. And they do it, but they're using some sound that they found on their keyboard and it's not the right sound.
Right.
But with Sunday Keys, you've got patches that are actually designed for songs, right? So they sound just like the lead line for a specific song.
Yeah, exactly. We have, song-specific patches which try to replicate those exact sounds.
See, that's awesome.
And then we also have a library of just tons and tons of common worship sounds. So if you have somebody that likes to tinker and find their own thing, they're going to find sounds that make sense for worship music. All those hardware keyboards have thousands of presets, but they're designed for like Friday night cover bands and all sorts of contexts. Sunday Keys is just focused on worship. The other piece I think that's really important for keys players, like every guitarist takes home their pedal board and they plug into their amp and they practice at home and then they get to church with their pedal board in tow. Historically for keys players, it's usually just a big brick that sits on stage and they go home and practice on their piano or their little Casio or whatever. But with modern keys sounds and what we're hearing in these tracks, it's not just a piano. It's not just a pad. There's a lot of layers. So with Prime and Sunday Keys, you can share set lists with people on different devices. So you can send them home and say, hey, open the set list in Prime and listen to the tracks. And then open Sunday Keys and build a set list with those sounds. And then you can share it to the iPad that's at church and all of that's gonna be ready to go. We have tons of worship leaders that will send a set list link in Sunday Keys to their youth group kids. So they don't want to send them home with a whole keyboard, but they'll just share it to their iPad or whatever. They can practice at home, and they show up with not just the parts, but the sounds
the actual
already.
Sound.
Already something that they're kind of comfortable with. So I think the cloud features is really an unlock that wasn't possible 10 years ago, but there's no reason now for that to be a barrier to practice with actual context.
We've been saying for years at Loop Community that tracks should never replace people, that people are the most important part of your worship ministry. And a lot of times people can just kind of lean on tracks, like, well, we don't have a bass player at our church, so we're just gonna use a bass track. And what I love what is happening here is that Sunday Keys is giving people, it's enabling people to play for real that part, and it sounds just like the recording.
Right.
But they have to perform it still. But that's the whole point for musicianship, and we want to get our people involved.
Some keys players are freaked out by the idea of playing more parts and sounds, and we get people say, I'm not techie. I know how to play piano, but I'm not a sound designer or a software person. But with Loop Connect, if you're the worship leader and you just want to build some like stock sounds, like these are the worship sounds that we want to use, then you can take your Prime set list and just have it automate all of the sound changes in Sunday Keys.
As the song goes along.
Yeah, exactly.
When it gets to the chorus snapshots.
Right, so your volunteer who might be a great, classically trained pianist, but they're not a sound designer. You just say, hey, just play the parts with excellence, and then Sunday Keys is gonna follow Prime.
Like you've already pre-programmed it for them.
Right, and it only takes like a minute per song. So like 4 or 5 minutes of your time as a worship leader to unlock a whole new level of performance for them.
Yeah.
And then, if you loop a section, or if you change the arrangement, or if you skip a song,
it automatically updates.
It'll just follow along. So it's really a way to help that really skilled piano player who's not really software comfortable, just kind of like, okay, great, I will handle that for you, because I'm already putting together my loop set list, my prime set list every week. Just add that 4 or 5 minutes of prep, and then they're just on the keyboard, locked into their parts, playing. Like classically trained folks are really good at playing in time. You can ask them to do all sorts of things and they'll do it. It's like the sound stuff kind of freaks them out.
Yeah, that's such a great idea, because you're right. People may be really good technically at playing it, but they have no idea how to dig through the menus and find the right sound. And they may not have the time to sit and listen to the recording and find the sound that matches that.
Right.
So you could, as the leader, just have it all pre-prepared for them.
Yeah, and if you do that once, then you can just save those arrangements. And then the next time you do that song, you can just pull it right back in and it's already done. So, if you do 40 songs in your library, you do it once, and then over time it takes less and less of your time.
So let's pretend that I'm leading worship, you're playing keys.
Yep.
I've got a track, and we're in a Sunday morning sound check. Like literally service is gonna start 30 minutes from now.
Right.
And we just ran a song, and you as the keyboard player noticed, because you're the keyboard player, that I had like 4 or 5 different pad sounds going on and something was clashing with what you were doing.
Right.
How would you handle that situation? What would you say to me as the worship leader?
Back in the day, in my younger days, when I was a very aggressive man, I would have said, hey, those track parts were clashing with me. Can we mute them? And I would have just asked you to do that based on my word. With a little bit more wisdom under my belt, I would probably lead off with, hey, is it okay if I play my piano part for you really quick so you can hear what I'm doing?
Let me come up with the answer myself.
Right. Well, and then you just take 20 seconds, let me play you the chorus. This is the sound that I have.
This is what I'm doing.
And then you can say, do you like that? And the worship leader will give you feedback. And then you can say, if it's okay with you, could we take out a couple of these tracks? Because I feel like I'm kind of being doubled, or there's a clash going on there. But honestly, real talk, oftentimes the worship leader does not have the keys cranked in their mix.
So they actually aren't hearing the clash.
They're hearing the feel, because the glue bit of keys is really what we're providing a lot of the time. It's not top of mix electric guitar lead lines. It's that backing up and supporting, enhancing thing. And so it's not top of their ear as they're listening to the full band.
It just sounds good. They don't know if it's the track playing it or if you're playing it.
Right. So if you just take that little moment, say, hey, can I just let you hear this in solo? And then they have a moment to reflect on it. It's a way easier ask to say, with confidence, I think I've got this nailed. Could you please pull back the tracks? And then they're going to want to accommodate if they like what you're playing. And if they're not, if they don't like it, then they can give you some honest feedback and you can improve.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think this conversation is very important, because I think too often people in the band, they get their feelings hurt. And then they never tell the worship leader about it. There's resentment that's built up over time, because they're like, well, I'm just being replaced by tracks. This could be for electric guitar players, bass players, everyone. And I think the key here is encouraging worship leaders and keys players to have communication, to open the line of communication and just talk about. A lot of times the worship leaders kind of hog the tracks, and the worship leader is in control of all this. And I think the idea here is invite your keys player into the conversation and be like, let's customize this together to fit what you're playing for the greater good of the whole band.
Seeing the tracks as a part of your band, as a palette that you can paint with. Yeah, exactly. And you would negotiate with a real band member. Hey, is it okay if I double your guitar part, or do you want it to stand on its own? Those conversations can happen with how you approach the tracks in the same way.
There is a way to make tracks and keys play along well and not clash with each other.
Yeah, I think the way that we're talking about this now, obviously it's for a video, right? We have a perspective on this that we want to share, but I think you can have a similar conversation between the keys players and worship leaders on your team. And you said, probably the electric guitarists and the bassists and stuff too. These kinds of conversations, you probably can't have too many of them too often. There's always this balance of what are we doing that we're doing intentionally versus what people just assume is how it is. So hopefully this sparked some conversation for you folks watching.
And these tools and integrations we're building are all meant to just help develop your team members so that they can play their instruments with excellence and
sound cool.
And sound Yeah. Play their instruments with excellence and sound really great.
We'll put links in the description to both of these apps. If you guys haven't checked them out, you totally should. I can play my pad louder and an A flat minor.
Hey. I'm gonna turn mine up.
Oh no.
I really like keyboard tracks because I don't know how to say this nicely. I don't know how to say this nicely, David, but sometimes you're not playing the parts correctly. And so I'm like, well, you know, this studio musician did pretty good on it. I do love keyboard tracks. It's one of those things where I like what you're doing with Sunday Keys, David, but I also don't because
I can't tell if you're joking.
do love tracks. I'm a track guy. I mean, what can I say?
No, it's okay.
You can't blame me for loving tracks. But my tracks are perfect every time.
Right. So hurtful.
Every time. But you know what? Ministry is about people. So I'll keep you in the band.